Welcome inside the SportsLink studios on the campus of Ball State University. I'm Dominic Liacani, and on today's show, we present SportsLink's gift to you this holiday season. On this show, we'll be going over 4 of Ball State's fall semester sports and taking a deep dive into each of their respective seasons. Let's start with field hockey. And now we sit down with Sam Niger, one of SportsLink Digital Radio's own analysts. Sam, you got a chance to watch this field hockey team up close multiple times this year. A 7-12 record to end it. They finished 4th in the Mid-American Conference, made the tournament for the first time in 3 years. Unfortunately, we're not able to get past the Miami Redhawks in the first round, but from where they were last year, Sam, the Cardinals took a huge step forward.
Absolutely. Ball State, some steps in the right direction this season for sure. Not how they wanted the season to finish out, but that just gives the Cardinals some room to grow here in the years to come. They really just needed a reversal of fortunes from these past couple of years, and I really think they made the right culture changes, took some steps towards becoming a much more competitive team in the MAC. It was a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, and speaking of a culture change, you have a new head coach at the helm now, Caitlin Walsh.
Yeah, Caitlin Walsh made some big impacts right away as Ball State's new head coach. She, of course, comes to us from Kent State. She was an assistant coach there, so she brings the winning mindset of sort of a modern dynasty in the MAC, if you will, over to Muncie, Indiana. And Walsh, she embodies all those kind of cliches you hear about when you hear about coaches. She brings the winning mentality. She knows how to change a team's culture, and she just knows how to coach a team to win. And it might be cliche, but it still works. And because Walsh embodies that, that's why Ball State has been able to put together such a successful season this year.
And that successful season came with a lot of young faces. This is a Ball State field hockey team that is a much younger one than we've seen in previous years. Who are some of those impact players that stood out to you?
Well, there's a lot of players that you could go to, but I think one that jumps off the page right away would be the freshman forward, Floor Nopert. She comes to us from the Netherlands, of course, led the team in both goals this year and points, 9 goals, which was a team high, and then 23 points. She was the only Cardinal who had north of 20 points on this season, so right away that should jump off the page at you for sure. But when you actually watch her play the game, she's such a selfless player. She makes all those around her better, but when she does get the opportunity to bury the ball in the back of the cage, she does so really effortlessly, and it's been a lot of fun to watch this year. What's really turning heads around Muncie, though, is that she is just a freshman, so at least 3 more years of Floor Nopert to look forward to as a Ball State fan.
And what about the goalkeeper, Hannah Johnston?
Yeah, Hannah Johnston, a junior this year. This was her first season where she really got to be the starter. We saw a little bit of her in action as a starter towards the end of last season, and now she's really taking a leadership role here at Ball State, and the ability to dish the ball out of the back as well as one of her strong suits. She's a physical keeper, and she's really going to be a senior leader next year as she continues to grow on her journey as well. I think she's the perfect fit for the Cardinals between the pipes.
We've talked so much about how young this Cardinal team is, but what about one of the senior defenders in Libby Kraus?
Yeah, I think it would be an injustice not to mention some of the senior leadership that the Cardinals did have this year. And Libby Kraus, she's just a natural-born leader, and she's a great defender out of the back as well, and she really contributed to that kind of stone-cold defense out of the back for the Cardinals that was able to take them to the MAC tournament this year. Ultimately, all 3 units, we're talking offense, we're talking defense, and then of course Hannah Johnston in goal, all 3 cohesively had a beautiful season and look to increase their ability to play field hockey here in the years to come.
And we're talking about those years to come, but let's look specifically at 2023. If the Cardinals want a shot at winning the MAC tournament next year, what are some steps they're going to have to take?
Well, they're going to have to continue to build on what they've already started this year. It was all about reinventing a team, changing the culture from what it was these past few years. Ball State has not been the glory team that they used to be in terms of the way they play field hockey, but this year to be able to get back to the MAC tournament, to take that momentum and ride it into next season, develop some of this young talent, also to buy into what Coach Walsh is telling the team to do, buying into the winning mentality, that goes leaps and bounds beyond even what the players do on the field. So to be able to see them grow together as a community and to be able to change the culture of this team, it's been a lot of fun to watch, and I think we should look forward to a 2023 season where Ball State will continue to shine.
Well, we can look forward to 2023 as well as the years to come with this young group of Cardinals on the pitch. But now let's go ahead and go to our next segment where we talk a little soccer. And now we sit down with SL Digital Color analyst Giovanni Alcantar. Giovanni, you got to call a lot of soccer this season at Briner Sports Complex. 7-5-8 overall record. They finished second in the overall MAC standings, did these Ball State Cardinals. Unfortunately, they fell just short of a MAC tournament championship, losing to Buffalo in the final match. But there was still a lot of positive takeaways from this campaign.
Definitely agree. A lot of positives to take away from this season. I think it starts with in the preseason, they were ranked to finish seventh in the MAC standings, which would have put them outside of the MAC tournament. And they ended up finishing as the second seed and getting a bye in the MAC tournament. And I think that just speaks volumes to the success that Coach Reif has been able to bring to this group. And I think that they can look back at this season now that it's been said and done for a little bit, and say they had a very successful run and they can build on to next season.
And speaking of how this team has been able to mesh, especially from what we saw in 2022, Giovanni, how did we see it all come together? What has the culture of this Ball State soccer squad been like?
Well, I think in comparison to 2021, I think the group had a lot of talented individuals, but they never really put it together in terms of scoring goals and getting results. I think this season they were able to just have a lot better chemistry, and I think that's something they talked a lot about in the preseason, being able to have that chemistry, and I think it led to them scoring a lot of goals, obviously, and getting some good results, especially once they got into the MAC tournament. They got a huge win against Bowling Green in the semifinals, and I think that was a culmination of just how much of a successful campaign it was for them.
And taking a look closer now into some of those individual players, Giovanni, who were some that stood out to you as the top performers of this year?
Well, you can't talk about this season without looking back at the exceptional performance of Avery Fentrell this season. 11 goals on the season, the second most in Ball State soccer history. Just outstanding stuff from her this season, and Ball State's going to be really excited because they have her and the MAC Freshman of the Year, Delaney Caldwell, coming back, who notched 7 goals on the season. They also have Lexi Fraley, who's a very fast and dynamic player for them, who got 5 goals on the year. And also looking at who was getting those assists, Abby Elgert was a fantastic winger all season for them. Again, all those players are coming back. All those players are going to have a lot on their minds from that MAC championship this past season. I think that this is going to be a very exciting group to watch next season.
Well, with so many players returning to the squad for next season, what can the Cardinals do to get over that hump and win the MAC tournament championship next season in 2023?
Well, this season they proved they can score goals, and they can score goals with anyone. The question now is going to become the replacements they have to make on defense. Both center backs are now out, so replacing the void that they are leaving, I think, is going to be a challenge for them, but they always have players every year whether it's freshmen or underclassmen that maybe haven't seen as many minutes, that are always able to step in and fill those roles. So I'm looking at Jordan Jeffers and Maya Millis, who played a lot of minutes on the back line this season, to really fill their shoes. And then Katia Murphy, who actually started the MAC championship in place of Jordan Jeffers. I'm sure she's going to see an increased role going into next season. But I think if they can shore up the holes defensively, I think that they're going to be in a fantastic spot because, as we know, we saw this season, they can score goals and they're very exciting to watch, Dom.
All right, well, let's transition from the pitch to the hardwood and take a peek at the 2022 MAC regular season champion, Ball State women's volleyball team.
Ready? Ready to party, we came and we started. I'm under them dangerous, I can be guarded. Follow the play, I cannot be caught. Just aim for the target, bow, bow, bow. Chasing the title like Jones, the circle got smaller. We came for the victory, eyes on the prize. We running low at a time, my watch on the chemistry. Gotta make sure that they dressing me, we got a chance to make history. Roasting my competition, just go fishing and get you a boat. We the best, they don't need for a friend. I walk on the field, I help the team get a lead. What you need 6, so we shooting for 3. Showtime. Yeah, I'm ready to speak, no time. I'm ready to be, goal line. I'm ready to freak, spree. The light is on, it's time to perform. You hear that I'm ready, just listen to horns.
And now we bring in SportsLink digital play-by-play and color analyst Jordan Climes. Jordan, so much to talk about this Ball State women's volleyball season. They finished 24-9 overall, 16-4 in Mid-American Conference play. They earned their second consecutive Mid-American Conference regular season title, fell just short in the conference tournament championship against Bowling Green, but earned the program's third ever at-large bid into the NCAA tournament. There are so many great and positive things to take away from 2022.
Especially considering the way it kind of started too, because in MAC play, Ball State dropped those first 2 matches to Central Michigan, and from there was a little bit of panic. I don't think really on the team, but from a perspective that's not in the locker room with them, you're kind of thinking, oh, are they going to turn around? Are they going to put it together? All of a sudden they go on a 13-game win streak. Eventually dropped that match to Ohio, but finished off with 2 more wins. So really good season for Ball State. As you said, dropped the MAC tournament to Bowling Green, which, by the way, those are 2 powerhouses in the MAC. We've seen both teams play in that championship game over the past couple of years, so that's going to be really fun to watch as we go along. But as you said, so many takeaways for the Ball State Cardinals.
Well, so many different accolades won as well by the Volley Cards. You had the Mid-American Conference Coach of the Year in Kelly Miller-Phillips. You also had the MAC Setter of the Year in Megan Wolanski, 3 members of the All-MAC first team and a member of the All-MAC second team as well. But to you, Jordan, who were some of the main key contributors to Ball State women's volleyball success this season?
Well, the first one I want to talk about is Kate Snyder, and all those other players that we're going to talk about are really good, but Kate Snyder is such an interesting story because you look at what she did last year, and it's been such an improvement from then. She played in 31 sets last year, nearly tripled her sets going into this year. Now, after this year is done, I should say, she played in 91 sets, which is just fantastic. You could really see her grow as a player as the season continued to roll along. They got her the ball a lot more. It was just such a fun story as a Ball State commentator and fan to watch Kate Snyder do what she did this year.
And you can't talk about this dominant Ball State women's volleyball offense without mentioning Megan Wolanski, who just picked up her first ever MAC Setter of the Year award.
And coming into this year, it's something that people had on the horizon. Was it fully expected? No, but the way Wolanski played last year, I mean, there's no surprise that she won the award. Every time the ball goes her way, she's setting it in perfect position. There might be some controversy over her winning the Setter of the Year just because statistically she was not the best setter in the MAC, but stats are not all that matters, and what really matters, especially at the setter position, is the way that you're running your offense, and just what Wolanski did running her offense. As I said before, every time the ball came her way, perfect pass almost always. So rare to see a bad pass from Wolanski, and just because of that, it's what set her over the edge she did so much for the Cardinals this year.
And then up the middle for the Cardinals, at that middle blocker position, Marie Plitt, who's coming back next season. Boy, what a crucial piece she played to this Ball State puzzle.
Well, just when things weren't going right for the Cardinals, when other people weren't getting the kills that might be necessary, you just got to get the ball to Marie Plitt because she is the most reliable player, not only on the Cardinals roster, but maybe in the Mid-American Conference. Every time the ball goes her way, I talked about this with Wolanski, but really, it's just so reliable. Every time it goes to the middle to number 5, there's no doubt about it, she's going to do something good. If the set's good, then Plitt is going to get the job done. So even if they're struggling on the outside, you get the ball to the middle of the court, and Plitt just does the job. It's so fun to watch her do what she does. And as you said, one of those seniors that's coming back for another year, so that's going to be crucial for the Cardinals next year. Both of us and all of our fans out there are really excited to see what she does in her next year.
Well, you spoke about the seniors returning, but Ball State women's volleyball is graduating 6 seniors who all left their mark in different ways. But from your perspective, Jordan, who are some of those 6 seniors that are really going to be missed next year in 2023?
And just to clarify, all seniors are going to be missed, right? Each player has something to bring to the team, but 3 that come to mind for me are Natalie Mitchum, Natalie Reese, and Maggie Huber. Starting with Natalie Reese, she's one of those players that can be overlooked, but it's so confusing because people do overlook her, but she's always on the court. She's a 6 rotation player. She can play really well in the front row, and she does it in the back row as well with those digs and those kills. One of those players that's just a rarity, was kind of like a Swiss Army knife kind of player, right, where they can do everything. So that's what Reese's brought to the team. So that's going to be a big loss for the Cardinals. And then with Mitchum, she got her 1,000th kill this year. Talking about Plitt and what she does, it just Mitchum kind of doing the same thing on the outside. Maybe not as reliable as Plitt, but she's right there when it comes down to it. Got some time cut out just because of what Snyder did this year, but so her stats might have gone down a little bit, but her play stayed consistent. She did really well. And then Maggie Huber, last one I want to talk about for the seniors. When you talk about the Cardinals, they just really need to stick to their identity. That was something that coming into this year and throughout the year, even through some of those low points in the season, they had to do. And their identity as a team is defense, and that ran through Maggie Huber this year. Ball State was 5th in the nation when it came to digs per set, and that's really off of the back of what Maggie Huber did. So that's going to be a huge loss for the Cardinals. Leaves a question for next year of who's going to fill that libero position, but for sure, Huber will be missed.
And if the Cardinals want to return to the NCAA tournament for a 3rd consecutive season in 2023, what's going to need to be done?
It's kind of what we saw this year with Kate Snyder, and that's just really develop some players and keep them going, keep them getting better as the years go along. So Snyder will be back. She'll be really consistent. We'll have Plitt back, a couple players as well. But really, I want to see what the incoming freshman class could do, but also what this year's freshman class could do. A couple of players really all over the court in the back row and in the front row. Got some time as the season came down to the end of it. They got on the court a lot more, and we started to see them be trusted. So how are they going to take that step up from next year? Because we talked about the seniors that this team is losing, and although they're really big names, that's just part of college sports. You're going to lose people, but it's how are those other players going to step up? So I'm excited to see what players like Paige Busick, Madison Buckley, and other freshmen as well can do as they take that next step up, and then just see how this senior class takes over as well.
All right, well, now let's go ahead and head over to Schumann Stadium and take a look at Ball State football's 2022 season.
I have got nothing to lose.
I've got nothing to do.
I've got everything to prove.
I got everything to prove.
I have got nothing to lose.
I got nothing to do.
I've got everything to prove.
I got everything to prove.
And now we're joined by SportsLink Digital Radio's Donnie Harmon. Donnie, you got a chance to take a look at this Ball State football team multiple times throughout the campaign. They finished 5-7, so just under 500, 3-5 in conference play. And for the first time in 3 seasons, they will not be heading to a bowl game, just missing out on that opportunity. But overall, the 2022 campaign, a pretty solid one and a lot of good takeaways for this Ball State Cardinal team.
Yeah, heading into this year, I think the expectation for Ball State was that it was going to be a transition year, coming off a year when they returned most of their roster due to COVID eligibility. Ball State had a lot of new faces, a lot of unproven talent on the roster. In preseason, many people predicting them towards the bottom of the MAC. A lot of times I saw them bottom 2 right there with Akron. They didn't finish the year strong. They lost the 3 straight with a chance to make a bowl game. And even heading into the Toledo game, they had a chance to control their own destiny in the MAC West Division. So 5-7, middle of the pack, and maybe a bit below the typical standard for Ball State football, but still this year there weren't high expectations, and they showed a lot of promising signs. There were a lot of close games, a lot of points left on the field that they could have taken advantage of, but Ball State still a building block year.
Well, 8 players from this Ball State football team earned all MAC honors on one of the 3 teams that was presented. Who are some of the standout performers to you this campaign?
Well, on the offense, you have to look at Carson Steele, well over 1,000 yards on the year. It goes without saying just how good he was this year. Not only one of the best running backs in the MAC, if not the best, but one of the best in the entire country this season. He had a fantastic sophomore season. And also some young players on the offense that were fantastic this year. The tight ends, Tanner Koziel, Brady Hunt, those guys were great weapons in this offense. Really came out of nowhere this season. The tight end hasn't been a big part of the Ball State offense the last couple years, but those are 2 of the best tight ends in the MAC, a fantastic duo. They could go up and get it, they could block, they did it all out there on the field. Then looking at the defense, a couple players I really enjoyed watching. Jaquan Amos start at safety, moved into that nickel role. He was a hard hitter, another hard hitter, a young guy. Jordan Riley Scott was a breakout player this season. He set the tone on defense with the way he hit.
And obviously the Ball State football team would have liked to make a bowl game this year, but heading into 2023 and looking forward into the future, what are some of the next steps that this team is going to have to take if they want to return to a bowl game?
Couple things. The first big thing is off-season improvement. Ball State heading into this year didn't really know what they had, what they were working with, but going into next season, there's a lot more proven commodities on the Ball State team, so fine-tuning that talent, really honing in and pinpointing your weaknesses from a season ago and executing better on the field and in the off-season. That would go a long ways heading into next year, and also just execution in game. There was a lot of times Ball State moved the ball. They had a lot of weapons on offense, but it didn't always translate to points. The scoring offense for Ball State really struggled this year, and there's a lot of games where they maybe converted a bit better in the red zone, turned the ball over a couple times less. They would have been victorious and likely made a bowl game.
All right, well, before we put a wrap on today's show, let's go ahead and take a look at the top 10 moments that were captured by SportsLink for the fall sports and the fall semester. This is presented to you by Victory Honda of Muncie. We start our list at number 10 on the pitch as freshman Ball State soccer midfielder Tori Monaco scores her first career goal against Eastern Michigan.
It's right outside the 18, shot from distance, and it's in the back of the net again. Boy, what a day. Tori Monaco, her first career goal, what a special moment.
At number 9, onto the links. Ball State women's golfer Kaya Parrott hits this 15-footer to secure a Brittany Kelly Cardinal Classic win and a 54-hole invitational record, recording a 207 for a 9-under performance. Let's go to the shoe for number 8. Ball State football cornerback Nick Jones has a career day on defense with 2 interceptions and a block punt to help the Cardinals shut out Murray State in Week 3.
Nick Jones having himself a ball game, 2 picks and a blocked punt.
At number 7, field hockey freshman Flor Nopert scores her first career goal in her first career game as a Cardinal, which was also Ball State's first of the season. The tally would help BSU defeat St. Francis 2-1. Back to the soccer pitch for number 6, MAC Freshman of the Year Delaney Caldwell scores this beautiful goal to open up the scoring against Eastern Michigan.
Caldwell still with room, will take an outside shot, and what a strike from Delaney Caldwell! Her 3rd goal on the season!
Number 5, field hockey defeats Ohio in overtime 2-1 for the program's best conference start since 2006. Who scored the OT winner? Who else but freshman Flor Nopert.
Now Fleur with another shot, and it's a goal! That one will go!
Fleur the Blur Nopert.
Let's go to Worthen Arena for number 4, where Natalie Mitchum becomes only the 12th player in Ball State women's volleyball history to reach 1,000 kills, setting the mark on senior night against Kent State. At number 3, Carson Steele makes it look easy with this hurdle against UConn in Week 7.
Hurdles a man and gets down to the 2-yard line. Are you kidding me, Carson Steele?
Number 2 highlights Ball State football's incredible 21-point comeback against NIU in double overtime in Week 5, bringing the Bronstock Trophy back to Muncie.
Ball is snapped. Hampton back to throw. Stepping up, looking downfield. He has Zucker, but short of the first down marker and incomplete. Lee there to knock it out, and the Cardinals win in 2 overtimes. The Bronstock Trophy is coming back to Muncie.
And finally, at the top of our list, what other than women's volleyball's dominating victory over Toledo in the final regular season match of the season. With the win, the Cards would secure their 2nd straight MAC regular season championship and the number 1 seed in the MAC tournament.
Polanski setting left now to Snyder, and she gets the kill off the block. And the Cardinals are MAC regular season champions for back-to-back years.
That rounds out our list. We appreciate you following us all semester long, and a big thank you to Victory Honda of Muncie for sponsoring these unforgettable moments. Well, that's going to do it here from the SportsLink studio. We thank you for watching SportsLink's gift to you this holiday season. So for Sam Niger, Giovanni Alcantar, Jordan Climbs, and Donnie Harmon, I'm Dominic Liacani saying so long and have a safe and happy holiday.